Good evening. Another Frankenstein movie tonight, Son of Frankenstein. Um, but first, as usual, a few other things that we watched that may or may not be worth your attention. Um, the remake of Child's Play, the creepy doll movie. Um, Interesting take on the creepy doll toy and also on our modern appliance, gadget, device driven society, everything linking together. Um, kind of, uh, it's the message you'd expect. Maybe we don't need everything to talk to each other, especially if they're not human. They don't have feelings. They just whatever. Um, great performances from people. Mark Hamill is the voice of the doll, which I didn't realize until toward the very end. It said, "Is that Mark Hamill?" And then I watched the credits. So that I mean, it's I have very distinct memories of the original, uh, and but they tried something interesting, and that's the most that you can ask from a remake. They tried something. As far as the remakes go, that I have talked about on YouTube in the month of October in the year 2020, I like it better than the other one. Um, and then the other was Adam Sandler's new Halloween movie, Hoobie Halloween. All the Adam Sandler people are back, and it's another interesting. If Adam Sandler is not your thing, then of course, well, then if there might be other elements that you might appreciate. Um, but I like Adam Sandler, and it was a fun movie to watch, and especially for the idea of Hoobie or Hubie is that he really loves Halloween, and we do. Me and the person that you never see, but who I swear lives with me and does all these things with me, and I'm not just referring to myself as we. And it's not a person inside my head. So the main event was Son of Frankenstein, and this movie I learned from watching it. Not this movie, but Son of Frankenstein is really the true source material for Mel Brooks's, not Mel Gibson's, Mel Brooks's Young Frankenstein, because it's Frankenstein's son returning to his birthright and ultimately doing what his father did, and he has a son also, and um, it is suggested, heavily suggested, outright said that Wolf Frankenstein, Henry Frankenstein's son, is the brother of the monster, because Henry Frankenstein is both of their father, and Wolf Frankenstein has a son. I think his name is Peter, and um, and there's a cute moment on the train, um, on a train toward the beginning of the movie when the Wolf Frankenstein says 9 out of 10 people think that the monster's name is, and then he gets called from off screen, and the person's calling Frankenstein, Frankenstein. So it's kind of a reference to what a lot of people find in even to this day, that people refer to the monster as Frankenstein. And I don't know if that was an issue back then, like it is now, or if Universal found we made this movie with this character and called it this because that's what the book is called, but we put him on the cover because he's the selling point, and people assume he is Frankenstein, and we've created that monster, and we're going to make fun of it. So it was an early kind of meta move. Perhaps it was also probably the first suggestion in a movie that the monster, by virtue of how he was created, is immortal and cannot die, which kind of makes sense because he dies at the end of both movies that precede this. And there are movies after this called Frankenstein meets Abbott and Costello and stuff like that. I haven't seen them. I don't know. And I don't know, this might have been Boris Karloff's last time playing the monster. But I will find that out when I watch these movies. It is the first time that Boris Karloff, at least among these classic monster movies, that Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi appear in a movie together. I think they are in other movies together, but not among the classic Universal monster movies. And so that was fun. Bela Lugosi plays Igor, but he's not the hunchback assistant from the original Frankenstein movie. He's more of a Wolfman-looking character who does have kind of a weird shoulder thing, not a hunchback, but a shoulder thing, because the idea is that he was hung, but then he was taken down before he died because they thought he had died, but it ruined his neck. So that is interesting. Nice to see them both. It would have been nice if they could have talked to each other because they had a lot of scenes together. But the monster is yet again nonverbal in this movie, and I guess it was what it was at the time. That's what audiences wanted. That's the monster that the people making the movies wanted. They wanted him growling and grunting, not speaking. But the things he said in Bride of Frankenstein were great lines. They were great line readings, and it would be interesting. And I don't know if this is, again, I don't know if in the upcoming Frankenstein movies he will be more verbal, but it would be nice to hear him speak, especially with Boris Karloff's voice. Let's see other things of note. Dwight Frye, who played the Igor-ish hunchback called Fritz in the first Frankenstein, and also Renfield, and also other characters and other. He's in this movie too. He's a villager, so he was kind of gradually demoted as these movies went on. I should look into him more and see what else he did other than these Universal monster movies. I wonder what he was considered as an actor, who he was considered to be, what his specialty was, or maybe this was it. It's kind of like a theater company, these movies. Boris Karloff is the mummy and the monster. Bela Lugosi is Dracula and the Wolfman, essentially, kind of. Because he's not a werewolf, but he looks like the Wolfman as Igor in this movie. And Dwight Frye's in all of them. Edward Van Sloan plays a similar character in so many of them. Claude Rains is the Invisible Man and the Phantom, so it's kind of like a theater company. But in Son of Frankenstein, the Son of Frankenstein, Wolf, the main protagonist, is played by Basil Rathbone, who is known primarily, I think, let me just see this, make sure, okay, but it doesn't say, it's not the first line of his Wikipedia, but he was introduced to me by a friend who's really into Sherlock Holmes as kind of the definitive Sherlock Holmes. And at this point, there are so many Sherlock Holmeses that's probably definitive is probably a matter of opinion for most people who actually care. For me, the definitive Sherlock Holmes is the one in the Arthur Conan Doyle stories. But as far as the look and demeanor of Sherlock Holmes, I think for a long time, Basil Rathbone was the guy, the interpretation of Holmes that was considered the one. And I've watched my first, it might have been my second, I don't know how much of it I watched back in college with this friend who I made reference to. But last month, or maybe the month before, or I don't know, time has no meaning anymore, but we had a day of watching Sherlock Holmes things, and I saw, to my knowledge, my first full-length Basil Rathbone Sherlock Holmes adventure. It was very good. And now I've seen this and seen him in this, and it's one of those things where, he's not an actor from my childhood or from now, so I have to discover him, and it's not going to be easy because he's not front and center. But it's good to see him in this. I'm no expert on film sets and film history, but the set here seemed more German expressionist than any of these so far have been. Maybe it was the first where that was actively done. But again, I don't know. Probably, but it just seemed more out there, kind of what you'd expect if Tim Burton made the movie. Like, there were lines that were not at right angles, and big spaces, kind of empty, huge walls. So I think that means German Expressionism. But again, I'm not an expert. It just that struck me, and I thought back to watching The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari in AP Euro. So that's that for this one, and I'm let's see the next tomorrow night. Uh, the Invisible Man. The Invisible Man returns, and we were going to watch Hollow Man uh, along with it, but it looks like it's no longer available. So we'll figure something out. For now, have a lovely midnight.